taking our legs, being on the outside of our partner's legs and placing them on the inside. We have our partner elevate us here. We put our hands on the floor. You'll notice that I really want Chris to carry my weight here. Okay, I don't want to have my toes touching the mat. We want to deliberately push our hips forward and pull our heels back. The first leg goes. Sometimes what you end up doing is you'll find situations where you can take your leg outside both of your partner's legs, and that gives you a great opportunity to pass to the outside. The focus for us is going to be on inside position. So as Chris goes to elevate, I'm going to draw my heel back and I'm going to take my foot inside of his feet. Then from here, it's very easy to take our knee down to the mat. Now, Chris has one leg inside, one leg outside. As he goes to lift with his inside leg, we simply ride up, and you'll notice we're going to go here, heel to butt, and place our shin and our foot on the inside position. Then we simply slide down the ramp of our partner's leg. That puts us to double inside. We've got our shoelaces resting against our partner's hamstring, and now from here, we can make decisions about how to pass the guard. The big key is body posture. If you try to pummel your legs from a position where your body is rounded, you're going to find that it's very difficult to do. To execute the floating pass, we really want you to be in a posture that's much more convex and much less concave. If you can get to this position, you're going to find that your heels move closer to your hips, even if your flexibility is not that great. So I'll show you from the reverse angle once again. Chris goes to elevate, hands here, hips forward. We pummel either to the outside of both of our partner's legs. This is a great drill to do. Or to the inside. Once we get here to the inside, we simply slide our leg down and we put our knee on the mat. Chris goes to lift with the other leg. We bring heel to butt and we place our foot anywhere from down here by our partner's foot to up by our partner's shin. Then we can extend and drop our partner's two legs to the floor. You can see here my feet are resting on the inside of Chris's legs. That's going to make a transition to knee on belly or into a full mount much easier. I think that the big misperception with leg pummeling is that it's a skill that requires a lot of flexibility and a lot of athleticism. The reality is that these two things, posture and weight distribution, make a huge difference. If you practice, you can run this as a drill. Again, like just let your partner lift you, put your hands on the floor, post your arms, and work to get your legs first to the outside. Okay, in many ways, this is easier. And then next to the inside. One leg goes inside first. Then that knee goes to the floor. Then you pummel the second leg to the inside position. If you can start to develop a sensitivity to what's going on with your legs relative to your partner's legs, it almost gives you kind of like eyes in the back of your head. You get a feeling for where you are when it comes to leg entanglements and what your partner's legs are doing, lifting and pushing you. It's going to make all of the other skills that we work on with float passing and some with tripod passing much, much easier. Not only that, but it's going to make your guard passing in general a lot easier. Anytime Chris is, say, going into sumigashi, looking to sweep me, if I can move my body out into a position that looks very much like what we were doing, we can often bring our hips high enough to split our partner's legs and ride through. So the skill of leg pummeling shows up over and over again. Okay, it shows up in guard passing. It shows up on the bottom. There's leg pummeling all the time where you're replacing your guard. But we want to have a comfort in letting our partner carry our weight, distributing our weight properly so that we have light legs, and then we have the ability to shift sides, turn our hips, and understand exactly how we're trying to get our legs to the inside or the outside. If you can do that, then you're going to be well on your way to having a strong base for float passing, tripod passing, and guard passing in general. Now, all the pummeling that we've just discussed is rear pummeling. So in other words, it's taking our legs kind of backwards, circling them through. So in other words, when we're here, most of the time when people are referring to leg pummeling, they're referring to an action where you draw your heel towards your butt and you circle your leg in this direction. Okay. So from the front, comes back a bit, and then you find this inside position. There is front pummeling, okay, and we're going to use that as well. The key to front pummeling is a bit different. If you try to front pummel from a situation where your hips are too far forward, you'll often feel that it's very difficult to do. When we front pummel, we actually want to round our body slightly, and we want to bring our knee towards our chest. Okay, we're going to look at this more in depth in a moment, kind of in context. But if Chris starts to lift with this leg, like straighten it out, If I try to rear pummel from here, it's going to be very difficult. But because he's lifting, I can easily bring my knee towards my chest. Okay, more like you're kind of like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. You have this open position with the hips. And then you can take your heel rather than backwards towards your butt, forwards as if you're trying to kind of kick your other leg. So the idea is that the heel, as Chris goes to lift me up, the heel will come forward in this direction. Okay, almost as if you're going to try to stand on your partner's hip. So we have a rear pummel where we bring our heel to our butt, and then we have a front pummel where we bring our heel around the corner towards our groin. So it's more common for you to see people, and for when you're training, working for inside position, to do a rear pummel. Okay, that's most of the time. But there are opportunities where we want a front pummel. And so to do that, you need to understand what we're talking about. When we say front pummel, we mean taking the leg up, circling the leg forward, and then usually stepping here on our partner's hip. So it is kind of a species of inside position. You could kind of continue to travel here and go shoelaces on the inside as well. When we talk about rear pummeling and kind of the default sort of pummel that people are usually talking about in grappling, when Chris goes to lift me here, it has me involves me taking my heel towards my butt, and then from here extending and dropping the knee down. Okay, so just kind of a quick note that you do want to develop facility in both of these. Rear pummeling is going to be the thing that you use more often. It happens more frequently. And then when you're training, when you're watching people do this, when you're doing it yourself, most of your work is going to be around rear pummeling. But you do want to have a comfort in understanding how to front pummel. That's to say, instead of bringing your heel backwards, you're bringing your heel forwards. Gordon is fantastic at doing this, and doesn't require a particular level of hip flexibility. As with the other rear pummeling that we talked about, it has a lot more to do with your weight distribution and the idea of having the proper posture. Okay, if your hips are forward with your chest forward like this, it's very difficult to bring your heel in front of you. But when your body is rounded, you can make use of whatever natural flexibility you have. On the other hand, if your body is rounded in this way, pulling your heel up towards your hips, towards your butt, is going to be difficult. But you'll find that if you move your body into a position where your hips are forward, chest is forward, it's a bit easier for you to get that rotation. So now that you have a note on front pummeling, let's go into our first pass off of the floating series. So the first and most fundamental guard pass that we can use off of this floating position is simply stepping over our partner's leg into the mount. What's the condition that makes this possible? First, we're going to gain a species of inside control where we take our knee over our partner's leg. Okay, it's going to be a straight hamstring position. We'll enter that standing with a seated partner. Then from there, we're going to take advantage of our partner's natural inclination to use their remaining hook to lift. When they go to start to lift, your partner is going to have a bit of a decision to make. If they keep their knees tight and connected to their chest, it's a smarter defensive move. If they go to lift and create some form of off balance, it's not wrong, but it involves them lifting and taking their leg out away from their chest. When that happens, we often have an opportunity to step over it, and we can go from there directly into the mount. Or if you can't get all the way to the mount, you'll be able to get into kind of a 3/4 mount situation, which is much easier for you to pass from. Let's take a look at how this is going to happen. So we approach our partner who's seated as they usually are, and we play the same sort of positional game that we've been working on. We start with good posture, head low. We put our hand here to get our partner a little bit out of balance, and then we're going to step our right leg to the inside position. Instead of going across to our partner's cross hamstring, we're going to take this leg and step it to a straight hamstring. We're going to bring our shin here to our partner's leg. Once we're here, we're going to drive this leg forward, and we're going to exaggerate our hand position. So oftentimes when we're playing this position with our partner's leg getting pinned by our shin, straight hamstring, we play with our weight back here by our partner's hips. In this case, because the goal is to lighten our legs, we're going to take our hands and we're going to place them up above the line of our partner's shoulders, ideally up here somewhere by their ears. Okay, what we can't do is have our hands below their shoulders, okay, even at or below their shoulders. The reason is because it's harder for us to unweight our hips and our legs in the way that we need to when our hands are here. Okay, the same thing, it's kind of goes doubly true if our hands are way too low. Now Chris has an opportunity to take his own inside position, and it's going to be really hard to float from here. So we take our hands and we bring them high up, okay? Next, we take our hips and we bring them forward so that we bring our left hip in particular against our partner's right leg. From here, if Chris doesn't do anything, then it's very easy for us to simply step up over the top. But usually what's going to happen here is your partner is going to start to use this leg actively, and they'll often try to lift you. So once we feel this happening, we're just going to take our left knee forward and step and slide directly into this position. Okay, you'd be surprised how often it happens. Once your weight is coming forward, your partner wants to form some sort of connection. So they use that leg to lift you. That puts you here. If you rotate real quick here, you'll see my right leg is still on the inside position. If Chris doesn't do anything, then we can actually bring our hips forward, go back again, and we can take our left leg and place it here so that not only have we moved with our right leg on the inside, but we are able to put our shoelaces of the left leg on the inside. This position, which is a species of the mount, this kind of double inside foot position, makes it very hard for Chris to adjust. He can't really knee elbow in a meaningful way. Okay, if he tries, there's no real outside position for him to connect with. And then it also allows us to pummel our legs through into a low knee on belly, or to simply drop our hips and take our feet out, getting into a mounted position. Okay. Oftentimes, though, what will happen, rotate this way, is your partner will lock onto your foot from here. Okay, he'll get a grip, and now from this position, we have to free this leg. The key to freeing this leg is not dealing with your partner's legs first, but your partner's upper body. So we're going to put a crossface in. When we do so, we're going to focus on taking a pretty deep grip. I want to have my middle finger touching Chris's armpit on the far side. So we'll drop our chest, take a deep right hand, and we'll hold so that as Chris goes to turn to face my legs, he finds it very difficult to do so. I can use my shoulder to crossface. Now he's got his jaw facing to my left and his knees facing to the right. From here, we can simply turn, and that's going to be enough to free the leg. Okay? So from a bit of a different angle here, we start with a seated partner. Scoot back just a bit. Great. We take an inside step and drop our weight here. Then we take our hands and place them well above our partner's shoulders, ideally up here, somewhere by their ears. Then we bring our hips forward. As Chris goes to lift, we simply ride over that top leg. If he doesn't do anything, we can pummel our leg back through, heel to butt, and go double shoelaces inside. If your partner traps your leg here in preparation to knee elbow, we're going to crossface. So we lower our level. Okay, we don't want to have a shallow crossface here. We're going to lower our level, bring our chest forward, and we're going to wrap our partner's head. We take our right hand and we're going to put our middle finger in our partner's armpit on the far side. I'll show you that detail in a moment. Then from here, we use our shoulder to crossface. That's going to make it very difficult for him to maintain his connection.